Tonight on CTV News, the future of Victoria Square is back in the spotlight with a public meeting being held tonight. A homicide investigation is launched and an international flight for Christchurch is no more.
Broadcasting across Canterbury from the CTV studio, this is First at 5.
Good evening, thanks so much for joining us. Well, Christchurch residents are being encouraged to take part in the debate on Victoria Square tonight after locals fought the government's $7 million redevelopment. Sarah's finally agreed to take plans to public consultation. No Need for Change campaign organisers will host tonight's forum at Knox Church at 7:30. Christchurch Civic Trust and Historic Places Canterbury spokesman Mark Gerard says the meeting will allow the public to hear from experts on both sides of the fence. And Mark joins me later on the programme to discuss the issues around this and what the event tonight hopes to achieve. Well, police are continuing to investigate the homicide of a prisoner who died earlier this morning. 44-year-old Benton Parapa of Rangiora was seriously assaulted, allegedly by 3 other inmates in a gang-related attack at Christchurch's men's prison last Wednesday. He was placed in intensive care and died early this morning. Police say the results of the post-mortem carried out won't be available for some time. Parapa was serving a sentence for crimes including serious assault. Well, it may be about to mark the end of a long-haul flight out of Canterbury, but Air New Zealand's decision to axe flights between Christchurch and Tokyo has many worried about its effects across the South Island.
Canterbury officials have universally voiced their upset about Air New Zealand's decision to end the direct flight service from Christchurch to Tokyo. The airline confirmed last night that its summer flights between the two cities would cease, but that more direct flights would be added between Tokyo and Auckland. The move is another blow to Canterbury tourism promoters, still upset about Christchurch missing out on hundreds more flights between China and Auckland signed off by the New Zealand and Chinese governments last year. Christchurch International Airport CEO Malcolm Johns says Japanese visitors in particular spend more time and money in smaller, rural South Island towns if they come directly to Christchurch. This is a sentiment agreed to by the Canterbury Mayoral Forum, the 10 mayors and chairs of Canterbury's councils. And given Air New Zealand ceased its Westport regional service last year, flights into Christchurch are considered even more important. Chair of the Canterbury Mayoral Forum, Dame Margaret Baisley, says the direct flights are also crucial for the many specialist Canterbury niche exporters who use the flights to get high-value and time-sensitive merchandise like seafood and flowers to Japan. If the current direct flights are not available, many of these opportunities simply would not be viable, she says. So if New Zealand's national carrier is out, who will step in to fill the gap? International airlines will be the likely candidates if tourism demand to the South Island increases substantially.
And late this afternoon, Christchurch's Labour MPs managed to secure a meeting with Air New Zealand's Chief Executive, Christopher Luxon, in a last-bid effort to get the airline to reverse its decision. We understand the meeting is scheduled for mid-April. Well, they have planted 850,000 trees across Canterbury in the last 25 years, and today Trees for Canterbury celebrated a quarter of a century of beautifying the area. Here's Jared McCulloch.
Another milestone for this local community group, doing what they do best. This group of volunteers are hard at work preparing for the organisation's ceremony, planting 10 kowhai trees at one of the entrances of the Charlesworth Reserve. Trees for Canterbury is celebrating its 25th birthday, providing native plants to the people of Canterbury through public sales at their nursery and donations from seasonal projects. And the manager says this celebration is rather exciting.
It's been a long road, so as part of our celebration we've invited people who have supported us from the business community, from places like the council, some of the ranger service that we've worked with for projects.
Steve has been working here since 1992 and says it's a great feeling seeing how far they've come from when they started on a shoestring budget.
Longest job I've ever had, really, but it's, you know, to me I've been able to watch the whole project grow. The buildings that we had, which were old recycled Toyota car cases and Hessian sacking used for shade cloth, to what we've got now in the nursery, which is real buildings made out of real materials. My boots don't rot off my feet anymore, but it has been exciting, you know.
When the organisation started, its aim was to employ, educate and regenerate their plants, providing knowledge and skills for their volunteers to take to their next workplace. And Steve says the helping hands of those who work for free are the lifeblood of the organisation.
Our chairperson was actually the guy that first got Trees for Canterbury going, so he's still with the project, you know. So trustees long term, but the people that come along, you know, it's been people who are intellectually, physically, socially disadvantaged. To watch these guys come along and grow, it's, you know, we do teach them some job skills, but part of it is a sense of self-worth or a sense of self-esteem, because you can't go and do anything if you haven't got that.
As of tomorrow, April 1st, the not-for-profit group would have planted and donated over 850,000 native plants to multiple schools and social organisations, and I'm not joking.
Well, to me, if you look at Canterbury, 2% of its original native bush left. You know, you have stories of 50 portable sawmills working on Banks Peninsula at one time, and you just have to drive along the Summit Road from the Hilltop Tavern out towards O'Kane's Bay, and you see skeletons of big old torture trees. You know, it's just devastating.
He says they haven't moved from their Charlesworth Street base, continuing to operate after both the September 2010 and February 2011 earthquakes, but did encounter some other problems.
The effects on us after the earthquake was we continued to do our projects, but the funding, which is where from plant sales to the community or to the public, no one wanted to plant trees in their back garden if it was full of liquefaction or if their house was broken. So the first couple of years was really tough, but people have started to get back into the gardens, even if they're not in their houses yet. You know, gardens, they can move in and do something with it.
Around 150 people are set to turn up to the ceremony, and this won't be the last project here. They'll be back at the Charlesworth Reserve in May to put in more plants when their season starts again. Jared McCulloch, CTV News.
And still to come here on CTV News, Historic Places Trust spokesperson Mark Jarrett joins me to discuss tonight's public meeting about the future of Victoria Square. When you need to know what's happening in your region of Canterbury, join me, Chris Lynch, for CTV News First at 5, weeknights from 5, right here on your local channel, CTV.
Computer not working? Replace or repair? DIY or get a technician? Looking for parts? Thinking of upgrading? Need accessories? You've got questions, we've got answers. Global PC.
The preparation, the devotion, the fearlessness, the intensity. Runway model management. First impressions are everything.
Made to measure interiors, made with care, made for you.
Join Graham Sinclair and the team at Gone Fishing as they bring you great stories, fishing tips and beautiful scenery. Gone Fishing, Friday night at 8:30, right here on CTV.
Welcome back to CTV News. Well, it's been a debate that continues with the rebuild, and tonight all sides will get their chance to have their say on the future of Victoria Square. Remarkable place, really. And with me now is the convener of tonight's community discussion, free of charge, at 7:30 at Knox Church, Mark Gerard. Good evening to you.
Thank you for having me, Chris.
I was about to say good morning, but that would be wrong, wouldn't it? So why the need for this public meeting now? Because I was talking to Vicky Buck today on News Talk ZB. She was giving me the indication the CCTU has decided to have a clean slate. But that doesn't negate the fact a community meeting is really important, though, does it?
We've called the community meeting because we thought it was really important that CCDU have got a questionnaire out and they're asking the public to be part of what they call community participation. So we've called tonight's meeting. We've got some panellists who are experts in their field, and they've got 10 minutes each so the public can hear and they can fill in the questionnaire.
Which I think is really important. You've got some fantastic speakers, some of I've spoken to. I want to just go through some of them to give people a bit of a preview if they're watching this live broadcast now. You've got Dr. Jeffrey Rice, who has written a book on the history of Victoria Square. It's a remarkable book, and it's fair to say the square has some really rich history, doesn't it?
It does, and the current debate is now contributing to its rich history. Oh yes, it's fascinating, like the Victoria statue, which signifies the 50 years of the founding of the Canterbury settlement. The Cook statue, which is Trethewey, which was donated by, I'm terribly sorry, by the person, Barnett, that's right.
That's right.
As well as the Bulka fountain, which was donated by an early settler.
Why do you think this Victoria Square issue has been at the forefront of many people, particularly on Talkback when I would raise the issue several months ago? A lot of people have a lot of interest in this space.
The space is very special to people, and from a heritage advocate point of view, there are some places, some buildings where the public has a real affection for, and it's deep-seated. And they don't have to think about it, it's just this is a special place and we want to retain it. And Victoria Square is one of those special places. It's
probably also a special place because it's one of the lasting, well, only lasting places in Christchurch that remains pretty much untouched despite the earthquakes, though. Would you agree with that?
It is. I mean, that's one of the joys. You go down to Victoria Square, and I did it one Sunday evening when I was counting the trees. And I looked through and I suddenly realised there was this green space which everybody had as a refuge during a brilliant nor'wester, and looking out, because from Victoria Square you can see right the way through to Christchurch Cathedral, and the square surrounding areas is grey, and it's pretty much broken. The rebuild hasn't started in that area, and you feel like this is Christchurch pre-quake.
What was your initial reaction when you found out what the CCDU wanted to do with Victoria Square? Change it here and there, etc. and so forth?
Well, there were a number of reactions to it, to be honest about it. The first thing was I thought the public should have been consulted about it. They consulted amongst their stakeholders, which was the Christchurch City Council and Aitahu, and I felt it was very important that the Christchurch be consulted about rearranging it. There were some problems with the design. I thought they hadn't really resolved what was going on, and there are also heritage objects which they were going to move. The Bulka fountain they were going to move, and Cook's going to be moved from the centre to the side. And the other issue too, it was such a special place, and I actually asked the question, had it actually been assessed? Because I think it's something special in the history of landscape architecture and urban design in New Zealand.
I agree with you. In a way, it seemed like tempering for the sake of tempering.
Yes.
You know?
I always argue if you have a design, the new one should be an improvement on what was there. And I don't, in all honesty, I couldn't see a significant improvement on that.
Other panellists tonight, you've got Niall Drain, who's a horticulturalist. What's his background?
Niall, one of his previous guises, was Director of Parks and Reserves, and he was there at the time when they first started the consultation. They had an extensive consultation on Victoria Square and was there during the opening in 1989.
Wow.
And these days they had a full consultation. He's also extensive experience with the Horticultural Society.
And Grant Edge, a landscape architect, what's his knowledge in all of this?
Grant was one of the design team right back in pre-1918 when they put together the design for Victoria Square. So he can give a really good of why they did it, how they developed it, and what was the thinking behind it.
So is it fair to say essentially these three panellists, they're going to be able to provide some amazing knowledge and history about Victoria Square, which will hopefully, the aim of the meeting is to make sure that people who turn up tonight can get a well-informed knowledge base to make a more informed decision when they make a submission as to what Victoria Square should or should not become.
Yes. We would like people to understand why Victoria Square is a special place, and it's a chance also to ask questions. In addition, as you'll notice, we've got Rob Kerr, who's the Development Director for CCDU, or Sarah. He's coming in tonight as well, and he'll be available to ask questions about the process as well, and he'll be able to take any feedback that he's learned from tonight back to Sarah.
He's a reasonable chap. I've had him on, I was talking to you off here about this, very easy to talk to and doesn't speak in bureaucratic sound bites. He actually, talks like a conversationalist, which is great. We need
Yes.
that, which is good. All right, you obviously would be, if you're watching this live broadcast now, encouraging people who have something to say about their future to come along tonight. But I guess here's your selling point. Why is it important for people to attend?
It's important to come and have your say. We'll have questions for you to take away with you. You can come and talk to the panellists and ask any questions you may have, and they can answer them for you. In addition, we should also remind everybody it's Knox Church, the recently restored Knox Church. You can come along and enjoy the interior as well.
Exactly, it is a beautiful looking interior, isn't
Yes.
it? All right. You're expecting many people to turn up tonight? It's hard to gauge, isn't it, really?
It is hard to gauge, but the feedback's been fantastic. People have stopped me in the street.
What I want to say, well, that's good. What I want to say, which I think is really important, it's all very well to have your say on Facebook and social media, but I still think there's something to be said about the power of people. And when I mean that, what I mean by that is people actually turning up to a public event like this, because sometimes it's really hard to inspire people to get out of their couch, into the car, to come down to the church. Do you have any concerns about that? And do you worry that social media, it's easy to have a moan there, but that doesn't necessarily transpire to faces in a community group?
This is true, but having said that, social media has been very, very good for spreading the word and what's going on with the likes,
Good
etc.
point.
It spreads the word really, really well, and we're really impressed with the discussions that are going on.
All right, just finally, let's remind the viewers watching this right now, if they want to come along tonight, give us all the details.
It's Knox Church tonight. It's 7:30, starting 7:30, in the actual recently restored Knox Church, and we'll go till we finish and everyone's had their say.
Excellent stuff. Make sure you turn up to Knox Church, 7:30 tonight. Nice to see you.
Thank you very much for having me.
And all the best. I'll see you again tonight, I guess. That is Mark, everybody, and we will be right across this story tonight. We'll have our CTV camera there in case you can't make it. Well, still to come here on CTV News, we'll check out the region's weather.
Kids television is right here on CTV. Tune in every Saturday from 7 a.m. to 8 a.m. for an exciting range of fantastic kids programming. Join in with all the fun Saturday mornings from 7 a.m. to 8 a.m. on CTV.
At Bowden Environmental, we specialise in all aspects of resource management, so you don't have to deal with the paperwork. With the skills and knowledge to organise any environmental work, we can guide you through the process from start to finish. From organising consents and farm environmental plans to pump and well testing, Bowden Environmental has it covered. Save time and remove the stress. See the specialist. Bowden Environmental.
Avoid the monkeys when it comes to relocating. Trust A1 Movers, a family business since 1993 that guarantees a professional job every time. We carefully handle and wrap your valued items, ensuring they have a safe journey. Secure storage and insurance options are also available.
A1 Movers, the careful, caring moving company.
Oi! Come on down to Ferrymead Golf. Care for a game of paintball? How about some swings on the old driving range? Or on our par 3 9-hole golf course? Test your skills on the mini golf course or have a go at the airgun shooting range. Then relax at the Wow Cafe with one of our super succulent Wow Burgers. Whether you want to perfect your swing or are looking for a fun family day out, come down to Ferrymead Golf, 50 Ferrymead Park Drive, right next to the Ferrymead Heritage Park.
Arts 21 showcases the vast creative talent and minds that are making a name for themselves in Europe and beyond. Think outside the square with Arts 21.
Welcome back to CTV News. With tonight's Victoria Square debate still in mind, just how important do we place on public consultation? Well, Jared McCulloch found out.
So do you think it's important to have public consultation?
Well, it just all depends on what it's about.
Well, I think it's, yeah, definitely. Heck yeah. Oh, yeah. I like to have my say, especially when things aren't right.
Well, it gives those people who want to have a say an opportunity, and it's not being non-caring, it's just that there are certain subjects where people can benefit, and I rely on other people's knowledge to actually, present their feelings if they have the knowledge to do it. If they don't, then they're probably better to keep quiet. But a lot of people do make a lot of noise for nothing.
I think if you want Christchurch to grow again,
you're going to have to invite the people to come in and help think about what's going to happen. If you don't do that, it isn't going to be Christchurch again.
Have you been a part of any of the public consultations?
No, I haven't.
And why is that?
It's a good question. I'm not sure, just too busy.
No, not really.
And why is that?
I guess because we've actually got so many of our own issues at the moment with our business and our home and various health members, the health of family members, that we just can't cope. There's only so much you can do.
Oh, I'm too busy. Because there's no forum, really. You should have 400, 600 people in the where the cricket's done. Every Saturday or every Friday or sometime. And people can go there and have a blast.
Well, we've all seen the dreadful power of what war drones could do, but can combat robots also be used for good? A leading scientist is in Christchurch today to highlight the latest trends with this technology. Jared McCulloch explains.
You may think of this when you hear of robots being used in war, but it's not. However, the discussion is far from being terminated. It's quite a controversial topic, with a professor from Atlanta in the United States coming to speak to Canterbury University students about the idea of using robots in battle, researching all areas of technology and how it impacts the world.
One of the goals of the work that I've been talking about is to try and reduce the casualties associated with non-combatants, which to many seems counterintuitive. But the goal is actually a humanitarian one. We are trying to use this technology to perform better than human warfighters could with respect to the application of lethal force.
The issue has made it to the United Nations to understand the matters surrounding the use of robots in this way through legal and technical perspectives. And a doctoral student says it has been on the UN's radar for some time, with New Zealand being part of the discussion.
There is a United Nations process called the Convention on Certain Conventional Weapons, and that's a treaty that New Zealand is a signatory to. And so New Zealand has to participate in the international debate and decide what is New Zealand's policy on lethality in robots.
The idea is robots would be used as a sidekick for soldiers. Being unable to use military weapons, it would not replace humans if a war was to happen. And Sean says robots could be the case here, with New Zealand taking a small-scale approach.
New Zealand may acquire some of these smaller items for its own defence forces to aid the SAS, like small drones, which are maybe the size of a hexcopter, which can be completely autonomous. It doesn't have to be a big, expensive Patriot billion-dollar system. As time goes on, like everything else in computing, the price will reduce, and even New Zealand will be able to buy, even a small country with a small budget will be able to buy some form of military robot.
He says there's a long way to go before seeing robots take to the battlefield, but he compares it to other types of technology, something we all carry around in our pocket.
Robots have been around in some form since World War II, but only a very one or two and a very niche and exotic. But as they become cheaper and cheaper, there will be more and more, and smaller, and cheaper and more affordable. So they'll become like mobile phones. They used to be the size of a brick, and then they'll come down to, and you needed lots of money to buy one. In 10 years' time, robots will become so cheap that everybody and every army and navy and air force will be able to afford them.
But Sean says in the near future he would hope the robots could help reduce civilian casualties in battle.
I would hope that you would see a reduction in war, or that robots are doing more of the dying in war, or reducing the risks to innocent humans in war.
And he says the public shouldn't be worried.
They should be concerned. There are legitimate concerns about the safety of any automatic device that's got dynamite that blows up. But I don't think people should be scared witless, but they should definitely be aware of the issue and concerned. But it is being thoroughly discussed in diplomatic processes.
So as for the idea of Terminator, it's very far off yet.
But that requires a lot of technological research, and it will take time to get those robots where people trust them enough to put a gun in their hands.
The discussion will be back at the United Nations in the next few weeks. Jared McCulloch, CTV News.
And we've got some emails coming through just wanting to know the details for tonight's public meeting. It is at the Knox Church, the fully restored Knox Church on the corner of Victoria Street and Beeley Ave for this public forum on Victoria Square, and it starts at 7:30 tonight. Well, now it's time to look out for the region's weather guide.
And welcome to your region's weather. Timaru reached 17, Geraldine and Temuka had 19. Ashburton and Methven reached 18. Rakaia reached 18. Darfield, Leeston and Rolleston all had highs of 18. Lincoln reached 18, Christchurch just slightly cooler on 17. Akaroa reached 17. Kaiapoi, Rangiora and Amberley all had 18. Culverden, Hamner Springs and Cheviot had 19. And Kaikoura reached a high of 17. Looking ahead to tomorrow's temperatures, Timaru will be mostly fine and sunny with northeasterly winds. Some high cloud will develop later on. Tonight's low is 11, tomorrow's high 21. Ashburton will have fine and sunny northeasterlies with clear skies, but cloud developing in the afternoon. Tonight's low 11, tomorrow's high 21. It will be a fine day for Christchurch with lots of sunshine and breezy northeasterly winds, also with some afternoon cloud developing. Tonight's low 11, tomorrow's high 19. Kaikoura will have clear skies and northeasterly breezes with some afternoon cloud developing. Tonight's low 11, tomorrow's high 20. Taking a look at the other areas around the region, Temuka and Geraldine fine with a high of 22, Methven fine and 21, Rakaia fine with 20, Darfield 21 and fine, Rolleston, Lincoln and Leeston also fine with 20. Akaroa fine with 21. Kaiapoi, Rangiora and Amberley will reach 21. Culverden, Hamner Springs and Cheviot will have highs of 21. Looking ahead for Canterbury. Warmer on Thursday with high cloud increasing later and moderate nor'westers developing. Fine and mild on Friday with high cloud and freshening northeasterly winds. Fine and mild at first on Saturday with high cloud and freshening northerly winds, but colder southwesterlies will bring some cloud later in the day. Cloudy on Sunday with moderate northeasterlies. Fine on Monday with high cloud increasing during the day and moderate northeasterlies continuing. And that's your region's weather for Tuesday.
Thanks, Lisa, and that is CTV News for Tuesday. Thank you so much for joining us and have a great evening.
Supporting local content so you can see more of New Zealand on air.